Okay, it started, sir.
Right. We will chant our usual prayer, then get started. Om yo brahmanam vidadhati purvam yo vai vedam cha prahinoti tasmai tam hadevam atmabuddhi prakasham mumukshurvai sharanamaham prapadye asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha, Gurave Sarvalokanam, Bhishaje Bhavaroginam, Nidhaye Sarvavidyanam, Sri Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Okay, so when we finished last class 2 weeks back, there were some questions, and one particular question I remember is people expressed some kind of a confusion between karma and karma yoga, and so they wanted to know, what do you mean by karma, what do you mean by karma yoga, how do you differentiate. So that's something I thought I will take up as the first topic for today's discussion, and then depending on any follow up questions or depending on other questions that may come, we can move on to another topic. Okay, so karma and karma yoga. Okay, so karma basically means action. In this context, when we talk of karma versus karma yoga, the word karma should be taken to mean any activity or action. Okay, so we perform a lot of actions in our life, right from getting up in the morning up to the time we go back to bed. Even sleeping is an action. Okay, but I'm not talking about those kind of secular actions. In the Vedas and Shastras, when karma is mentioned, it primarily talks about Vedic karma. Okay, in the Vedas, a lot of karmas are specified for attaining various results, various outcomes. Okay, and I think I did talk about a broad classification of karmas in the form of nitya karma, naimittika karma, and then kamya karma, prayaschitta karma, and nishiddha karma. So those are 5 broad classifications of karma. So nitya karma, naimittika karma are kind of compulsory duties that the Vedas specify that one should perform. Now these compulsory activities will depend and vary based on a person's varna and ashrama. But in today's society, the varnashrama system has more or less collapsed completely. Okay, so we have people who call themselves brahmanas, but they end up doing vaishya karma, or sometimes even shudra karma. Sometimes they are in government, so they become kshatriya karma. So the what Krishna called or Arjuna called varna sankara in Bhagavad Gita, that has actually become a reality today. So in today's world, in the Vedic system, karma, performing a karma means performing a Vedic karma. Okay. Now in today's world, we have to kind of um, tweak and customize that interpretation to suit today's conditions. So in today's conditions, what are our duties? If you are employed, going to your office and performing your work properly is your duty. If you're a student, attending school or college properly and kind of doing your studies and clearing the exams is a duty. And so depending on who you are, at what stage of life you are, what is your position in society, whatever duty is your call of duty, we say, no, whatever is your call of duty at that point in time, performing that becomes your karma. Okay, so let's say there are a lot of people who are taking care of the families, and they call themselves homemaker or housewife or whatever. Even their duty is to make sure that the house is in order. and children, children are taken care of, the family is taken care of, if there are elders in the family taking care of them. So whatever be the person's situation at that point of time, if there are duties associated with that situation, that is a duty karma, and performing that duty is essentially performing the karma. Okay. And from the shastric point of view, the person who is performing karma is generally referred to as karmi. Karmi. Okay. In English, if you want to write, it is Karme, karmi. Okay. So a karmi is nothing but someone who performs a particular set of activities, and he is very interested in the result, the outcome. As I said in the previous classes, karma always has two parts. There is a performing part and there is a receiving of the result part. So what we call kartrutvam and bhoktrutvam. So kartrutvam is the sense of doership, and bhoktrutvam is the sense of someone who is receiving. When the same person who receives the karma phalam or the results of one's action, that is bhokta, and the role of a bhokta is characterized by bhoktrutvam. Okay, so the karmi, while he performs the action, his primary desire and focus is on obtaining a good and effective satisfactory result or outcome. So that is the motive with which he performs his actions. Okay. Now, if the result is not as per his expectations, then he'll feel disappointed, angry. If he's, getting the result more than what he expected, he's elated, he jumps up in joy, goes and has a party. So all these things happen. That is the karmi's life. And if you observe the world carefully, 99% of the people are karmis, because they all do their work. Even those who are employed and go to the office and do their job, they expect the salary at the end of the month. If there's a variable component, they expect to be paid the bonus, without getting deducted. And they expect a promotion. Depending on the organization, you may get a promotion every 3-4 years, every 7 years, god knows. In some companies there is no promotion at all. So all those things are there. So you perform your duty with the clear intention of enjoying the benefit. You want to enjoy the benefit, and that is what 99% of the people in this world are doing. Okay. Now you may think this is quite normal. So what's the problem with this? Okay, the only problem with this is, you may perform your duty and think you have done a great job, but then the result or the outcome that you expect may not always come in the form and shape that you want it to be. So there is always a gap between what you think will be the outcome and what you really get as an outcome. Okay, so let's take a very simple example that everybody can relate to. And people who go and do their job, they have a certain bonus component in their salary, which is called variable component. And you may think, I deserve 100% of my bonus, but your boss and your rest of the organizations may say, during performance appraisal, no, this was not okay, that was not okay, and they may reduce your bonus to 75% or 60% or whatever. Okay, so that's a typical example that all of us can relate to. Okay, so if you are a karmi who goes and performs your job and expects 100% bonus, and you don't get 100% bonus, obviously you're disappointed, and that disappointment will show. It will show in the way you perform the next year. Okay, that disappointment will definitely show. Maybe you will even start looking out for a different job. Yeah, it all depends on the circumstances. So the short lesson is, while you may do everything in your control, the outcome is not in your control. That is the bottom line. And this is what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, in the famous shloka. Most of you may even have heard about it, seen in some photos and written all over the place and all that. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. The second line nobody knows, because it's the most popular line. Ma karma phala hetur bhuhu mate sangostva karmani is the second line of the shloka, but the first line is very popular. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Even in the B.R. Chopra Mahabharata, this this used to come in the title song. So many of you who watched Mahabharata on TV might be aware of this shloka. Okay, so what does this shloka mean? Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. It means you have complete control on how you perform, but you have no control on the outcome. The word adhikara, lot of people translate wrongly as saying you don't have a right. You don't have a right on the outcome, or you don't have any how do I say that? Yeah, right. Most people translate it as right. You have to perform your duty without expecting results. That's the extreme translation some people give. That's not really the correct translation. The correct translation is your control is limited to how you perform the duty. Once you have performed your duty, the outcome or the result of that action may or may not match your expectations. And if it is on the negative side, if it is below your expectations, don't feel disappointed. Okay, that is the simplest advice Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita. So why do we say that? Why do we say that the outcome is not in our control? The outcome is not in our control because between the performance of the action and the outcome coming out or emerging, there is a time lag. And in that time lag, there are a lot of other factors which can come and influence the outcome. Okay, so a very, very simple example that we give to explain this phenomenon. Yeah, so let's say there is a hunter. I'm talking about a hunter of the olden days, not today's hunter with a gun. Okay, I'm talking about a hunter with a bow and arrow. Okay, now the hunter is in the forest and he's trained his bow and arrow on a particular target which he thinks is a deer or lion or something. Okay, it's an animal that he wants to shoot, and he's very sure that it's the right target. And then he releases the arrow, and the arrow is very much straight on the target. But then suddenly he realizes that it is not a lion or a deer, it is a cow. And he doesn't want to hurt the cow, but he can't do anything because the arrow has left his bow. So that is the example we give to show that your action, once it stops, the outcome is not in your control. It's like an arrow that has left your bow. You can't call it back. You can't recall it. And when I say that, in today's organizational context, if I say that the result is not completely in your control, it's because when the organization decides on somebody's bonus, it is not necessarily the individual performance of that person. It will also have other factors like how did your team perform, how did your business unit perform, how did your geography perform, how did the global organization perform. So there are so many different layers of 1 minute. So many different layers of variables which are not entirely in your control, or which you may not even be aware of. That will result in a different outcome. So Krishna uses the karmanyevadhikaraste shlokam in a very generic sense, and very often in the Vedic sense. Not so much in the secular sense, but in the Vedic sense. In the Vedic sense, what happens is you may perform a karma, but the karma phalam will not come if your past karma, that is the sanchita agami and prarabdha karma, that karma, in your prarabdha karma, if you are not fated to get that kind of a result, that result will get postponed. It's not that the karma is waste, but it will not come in this janma. It will come in some other janma when you didn't completely expect it at all. Okay, so that is the way the shastric interpretation of karma goes. Okay, Now, what is karma yoga? So, karma yoga, the karma yogi who practices karma yoga also does his duty in pretty much the same way like a karmi will do. But the difference is only in the attitude, in the mental attitude which he carries at the time of performing the karma. That's the only difference. Because for the observer, for a third party who is looking at a karmi and looking at another karma yogi doing the same job, he will not see any difference from the way they perform the duty, because the difference is not in the way they do the duty, but the difference is in the attitude they carry. So, what is the attitude that the karma yogi carries that the karmi does not carry? That is the important thing to understand. So, the karma yoga, the word itself, as you see, has two components. One is karma, one is yoga. Okay, so what is karma? Karma is the action, but in the case of karma yoga, the action is defined as performing the action with an attitude of yoga. The action that you perform is performed with a yoga of an attitude. Yoga here is a certain attitude of the mind, and that attitude has two parts. One is the attitude while performing, and the second is the attitude while you receive the karma phalam. And the attitude that you carry while performing is as though you are performing a puja, as though your karma is an offering to the Ishvara. So that is the sincerity and dedication with which the karma yogi would perform the karma. It will be very meticulously and sincerely executed, following all the guidelines and all the do's and don'ts, not violating any rules, and so very strictly performed according to the standard copybook. That will be the karma yogi's karma, performed perfectly and neatly. And the attitude at the time of receiving the result is one of a prasada buddhi. That is, the result that comes to you, you accept as a Ishvara prasada, as a gift of God. So you don't evaluate the result and feel good or bad about it. You accept it as though it is a prasadam. So I gave this example in the last week, last class. When you go to a temple and you offer, flowers or fruits or whatever, you get something in return as prasadam. Sometimes the prasadam quantity may be more, sometimes it may be less, sometimes it may be just some kumkum or haldi powder. So you may not get what you want. You may be very hungry and you may expect some kind of a eatable to come as prasadam, but the pandit may just hand you some haldi powder and kumkum which you can't eat. Yeah, very simple example. So at that time, you don't throw away the kumkum or haldi powder and ask the pandit, don't bargain with the pandit to give me a banana or apple or whatever. So you just accept whatever comes and you walk off. That is the way you, a karma yogi, would accept the results of his action when the results eventually come. And while performing, he performs a duty with an Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. Okay, so in this karma yoga framework, what happens is the person's mental makeup remains fairly stable and peaceful no matter what happens with the result, and he is equally energetic or enthusiastic to continue to perform the duty over a longer period. He is not depleted of energy. Very often when the person has a very strong expectation with respect to the result and the result is not good, the person's energy levels can drain completely and he may not feel motivated to continue with the job. There are cases like that. So that will not happen to a karma yogi. The karma yogi will still be mentally strong enough to carry on and try again and again and again, because he knows that eventually his efforts will be rewarded by Ishvara, because all rewards are eventually decided by the Ishvara, whom we call Karma Phala Data. Karma Phala Data means one who rewards you according to your karma. The Ishvara plays the role of a judge in a court. When I say judge, I'm talking about a real, proper, justful judge, not the kind of judges we find in today's courts, but I'm talking about a really justice-oriented judge who will very clearly, look at the pluses and minuses and give a proper, fair award and fair reward. So Ishvara is that kind of a judge. And so this Karma Yogi has complete faith in Ishvara as a Karma Phala Data, and so he accepts the result as the Ishvara Prasada. So that is the key difference between a Karmi and a Karma Yogi. Yeah. So I think I gave a fairly long explanation. If there are questions, we can open up for discussion. No one? Yes, Raniji, please unmute yourself. Yeah.
Vasudevanji, I understood like you without expectation, we should do like you expect some promotion and you don't get it, and then you get depressed and so on. But if you don't get the result which you want, that easy heart is there, but still you continue your duty without any like your work like the year before how you are doing the same way you perform, but you have that hurt inside. That counts as the karma yogi or no?
No, no. If you get hurt, then you have to question yourself whether you are Karma Yogi.
Ah.
Because a true Karma Yogi will insulate himself from all these hurts. It's a very idealistic situation. Even a Karma Yogi might feel a bit disappointed. Okay. So
Mm,
you can have some kind of a gradation. A Karmi has a 0 and a Karma Yogi has 100. But
mm.
most of us cannot reach 100. So we are somewhere in the 60, 70, 80 range. You can think something like that.
Ah, okay, okay.
But
Yeah.
the idea is to eventually progress towards, if you are at 70, make it to 80, make it to 90, make it to 100, and try to improve yourself over time. That's the whole idea.
Ah, okay, okay. Yeah. That hurt feeling itself, you have to come down, you have to
Yeah,
work out.
because what you have to understand is that the result of your action is not merely controlled by your actions.
Mm,
Okay, the result of your action is influenced. It's a mixture of so many things that you may not even know about. Okay.
mm,
Now, I mean, typically our guru gives an example like this. Okay, let's say
mhm,
you are, going around collecting some donation for a good cause. Yeah,
mm,
like
mm.
you were part of the drive that we had a few months back for collecting money for painting the temple and all that, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So
Mm,
let's say we had some kind of a target
mm,
value for that
mm,
project, and
mm,
then we go around asking people to contribute money,
mm,
and then let's say somebody says, I will give you,
mm.
provided you guarantee that your target will be reached.
Okay.
Okay, now that's a difficult question to answer, because at that time when you're asking him to contribute, you
Mm,
don't know how many other people will contribute how much.
mm. Yeah.
Okay, and so you cannot tell the person, yes, I will surely reach the target. You cannot tell the person, no, 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 I'm not sure, I may not reach the target. You can't say this way or that way, because the contribution of every individual counts in the outcome. So here the outcome I am defining as reaching the targeted amount.
Okay.
Okay, so every individual's contribution matters, but
Mhm.
no single individual's contribution will completely complete the task. That's the point.
Okay. Okay. Mm,
Similarly, in the
mhm.
case of your karma and result also, you perform your action, that is one part of the whole setup. There are a lot of other factors which come in, which you don't know, or you can't control, so the outcome may or may not meet your requirement. Yeah. And another example I gave was, you planning to go by train to some other place, and you go to the station, you are on time, but the train is delayed. Or
Yeah.
the train comes on time, you get into the train, but the train gets delayed on the way. All those things are examples. So even though you did everything right, you end up going late to your destination. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Understood. Thank you.
Okay. So there were two hands before Sridhar's hand went up. So including Sridhar, there were three hands. So Rahul ji, can you open up and ask your question?
Yes, Vasuji, namaste. So my question is, in the example that you gave, where the hunter who had aimed the arrow and he shot the arrow, and then later he realized that he's hitting the cow. Now my question is, what would be the emotion of that hunter be to be called a karm yogi? Will he repent his action and then he will be called a karm yogi because he's going to shoot a cow? Or he will say that whatever it is, it's a prasad, I accept it.
See, that example was not given to demonstrate a karma yogi. Okay. So this is another problem. When I give an example, or when any example is given, it is given to demonstrate one particular point or one particular idea, and that example may or may not be suitable to explain some other idea. Okay. So the example of the hunter shooting the arrow was given to tell you that your action and the final outcome have a certain gap, and you don't have control on that gap. Okay. Once you understand that, you must drop that example. It is not a good example for karma yogi.
Okay, ji. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Then
Because
I
in
will.
the case of a
Okay.
hunter, he will definitely feel guilt and even horror of having killed a cow. Okay. So probably he may go and quickly remove the arrow and try to give some treatment to the cow or whatever. Depends on where he hits the cow, because I think one arrow will not necessarily kill a cow. The cow is not so weak. Okay. So it's just an example. So if the cow is hit in the neck or something, it will die. But let's say the cow gets hit somewhere where it can just sustain the injury. Maybe the hunter can go and rescue it and take it to a Vaidyar or somebody. Okay. So that's a wrong example
Ji,
for karma yogi. That's what I want to say. Yeah.
ji, ji.
Okay. Now Chandrasekhar.
Namaste, Vasuji.
Yes, sir.
My question is a little related to Raniji question. Like, the question is like, we are doing the hard work and expecting that something like consider the promotion only. I'm not, my question is not related to promotion, but yeah, if we are expecting some promotion because of you also worked in IT area, like in IT, lot of politics will happens. The manager will have a good opinion on one person and another person. Due to that, the result might vary from the what we expected,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
In these cases, we generally people say that, oh, it's a political people are there, it's better either skip or you need to fight with them.
mhm.
When you know that even you fight, the management will not agree, right? In this case, what we have to do? My question is related to this. Like, do we think that okay, this is Eswar Prasada and continue working, or
See,
we skip up?
this is a very, very specific, individual, specific situation, specific question, and the answer
Yeah.
will vary depending on who, how much, which organization, and all that. So, Karma Yoga is essentially, I would say, a way of life, a way of approaching life, which is which gives you some kind of an emotional shock absorber. That's the way. That's the word I would like to use. If you are a karma yogi, you are not subject to emotional jolts and upheavals. You are able to take ups and downs in your life without getting disturbed too much. It's an emotional shock absorber. You know, Swami Vivekananda has, had said this in some context. Those who make appointments with the future will have to face disappointments. Okay. Now, that is not really a slogan you can carry in today's corporate world, because in the corporate world everything happens through appointments. Okay, so you have scheduled a series of meetings for the next so many years or so many weeks. So you can't tell your boss, those who make appointments with future will have disappointments. You can't tell your boss, you will get fired. Okay, so what you have to take from the karma yoga thing is, it is an attitude to cultivate. It will protect you from emotional turmoil, that's all. Afterwards, how you deal with a given situation is entirely up to the individual's situation. You may want to go through all that. You may want to talk to your boss a little nicely, try to become his friend. He may be amenable to your friendship, extending your friendship hand. He may not be amenable, or you may look for a different job, you may look for a different role in a different team. All those options are there. It all depends on what kind of organization we are talking about. There is no general one size fits all answer here. As long as you handle the disappointment or negative outcome in a way which doesn't affect you, in a way that doesn't affect your mental health, you should just move on to the next set of activities. You should analyze the situation and decide what is a good course of action and go through it, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Then Sridhar sir. Raniji, if your questions are over, please you can lower your hand. Yeah.
Yeah, one question, Vasu sir. So the basic takeaway for me is a karmi is someone who performs actions with a specific result or expecting a specific result.
Hmm.
And a karma yogi is someone who performs what is expected out of him or what the situation demands without needing a specific outcome.
Yeah, what we call performing the duty for the sake of performing the duty. Okay. So
Because
I will give an example, or I'll give you
Mhm.
another set of uh, words or semantics. You know, the karmi treats the action as a means to the end being the result.
Mhm.
The karma yogi treats the karma or the action as an end in itself. You get the difference?
Yeah. I, yes, I do get the difference, but my key question is what would motivate a karmi to become a karma yogi?
What would motivate a karmi? Again, that's
Because there has to be an expectation of an outcome. If you, let's say, move from a karmi to a karma yogi, there is a specific outcome that would, whatever, make you more emotionally stable or more resilient to life or whatever. So there is still an expectation to the outcome for a, I mean, like you said, 99% of the people are karmis,
yeah.
right? Now, like our Shastra says, why would a karmi want to turn into a karma yogi?
Good question. See, the transformation of a karmi into a karma yogi doesn't happen in one janma. That you have to understand first. Okay. A karmi will continue to be a karmi for maybe several janmas, and then slowly, you know, the sukshma shariram and the mind travels from one janma to another, carrying the samskaras from the previous janmas, all the previous janmas. So there is a samskara in the mind that has, hopefully come over several janmas, that hankering after external achievements is not really giving me peace of mind. So the focus of the person slowly changes from achieving the material result through karma to achieving a certain peace of mind. Because as long as you're focused on the outcome, which is a material outcome, you will always be in some kind of an anxiety and tension. Okay. And as long as the individual is able to withstand that state of tension and anxiety over a long period, he will keep pursuing this external goal. But then at some point, after maybe a few thousand janmas, the person's energy is probably not so high that he starts questioning himself, okay, what is the use of all this? That's a bodhi tree moment for that person to start questioning, am I doing the right thing by pursuing these external achievements and material advantages? That question should come. And for that question to come, it will take several thousand or maybe even million janmas. It all depends on a lot of other factors. Yeah.
Yes, that was also my point. So the transformation from a karmi to a karma yogi is a natural process which results out of a knowing that when we do actions, then what we expect. So, like someone explained, stress is the distance between where you are versus where you want to be.
See,
Right?
that
It is the
where
gap
you are
between.
and where you want to be can be applied even for a materialistic karmi.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah?
I'm purely talking about that in a materialistic sense, that like I'm here now with a certain financial status versus what I want to be is can be called as wealthy or abundant or whatever it is. So as long as I haven't reached that position in my mind, in my senses, then I'm constantly striving to be something.
Yeah, correct.
Right, and this is not always happening smoothly. There is too many hiccups, and a lot of times things that I want never even happens, let's say.
So that word you used, I'm constantly striving to improve myself. I think that's what you said, right?
Yes.
That constantly striving to improve oneself, in the Shastras, we call it apurnatvam. Apurnatvam. Okay, so you remember the Raymond's advertisement, the complete man.
Yeah.
So the complete man, you think you're going to become a complete man by wearing the Raymond's suit and coat, but after you have bought a few Raymond suits and coat, you still find that you're incomplete. So you realize that the Raymond suit really did not help you to become a complete man. Okay, so that's the case with all the achievements that you pursue. Somebody may be pursuing 1 million euros, somebody may be pursuing 10 million, somebody may be pursuing 100 million. But whatever be their pursuit, once they reach their target, they feel that they have still a lot more to achieve. So they're still not complete. When you have not reached 1 million euro, you think you will become complete with 1 million euro. But the moment you reach 1 million, you want 5 million because you think 5 million will make you complete. So that's a never ending process. It is apurnatvam all the way. And what the Shastras say is that anatma will never be purnam. Anatma is always apurnam.
Oh, what exactly is anatma?
Anatma is anything other than your atma. We had so many sessions explaining what is atma. Okay, we talked about Brahman. Brahman is also called atma, consciousness, chaitanyam. Yeah, I think you have to go back to the first few weeks.
Yes, I'm trying to relate it to the context of the discussion here.
Yeah.
So it feels like, I mean, the karmi or the intention to do karma to achieve a specific result is anatma, right?
No. The karmi is trying to achieve some material benefit, which is anatma. The material benefit that he is traveling towards is anatma. Okay, even the body is anatma. See, if you take the analysis of the individual, we talked about the three shariras, the pancha koshas, all of them are anatma. Everything that is material about the world and the individual is anatma. The chaitanyam the consciousness alone is Atma. Atma really means the self. The self with a capital S. Okay. And the self, the real self, is consciousness. And all these concepts and ideas were covered in the first 5 weeks. So it's probably a long time in the past that you've probably forgotten whatever we discussed. So it may be helpful to go back to the first 5 weeks recordings and listen to it again. But basically, anatma is anything that is non-self is anatma. Anything that is other than self, non-self, is atma, anatma. Okay, so
Yeah.
all the material achievements that anybody is striving to reach is all anatma.
Okay. Going back to my original question. So is the transformation from a karmi to karma yogi is a natural process of realization across many experiences, lifetimes as you call it, or can there be an intentional transition from the karmi to the karma yogi? And if there is an intentional transition for someone to work towards, then what is the motivation? Because as long as there is a motivation, it still becomes a karmi.
No. See, even a karma yogi works with motivation. I think that's something we discussed in the last week. Okay. So a karma yogi also has a motivation, but that motivation is only to motivate him to perform the duty. The motivation on the result will not dampen him from performing the duty if the outcome is not up to his satisfaction. So you have to, it's a very subtle difference. See, non-performance of one's duty is not a karma yogi. Let me put it this way. That is what the Krishna tells Arjuna. If you go back to Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna keeps asking about sannyasa again and again. Okay. If you remember, third chapter begins with that question. Third chapter begins with a question from Arjuna. Jayasi chet karmanaste mata buddhir janardana tatkim karmani ghore mam niyojesi keshava. So you are talking about karma being superior, but then why are you pushing me to perform this very cruel task of killing people? Okay, and the 18th chapter again, Arjuna asks, Sannyasasya mahabaho tattvamichhami veditum tyagasya cha hrishikesha prithakkeshi nishudana. So there also Arjuna wants to know about sannyasa, because sannyasa, Arjuna thinks, is a way out from his dilemma. He thinks by taking sannyasa and running away from the battlefield, he is going to somehow escape all those problematic activities. And then there Krishna clearly says that sannyasa is not going to the forest and abdicating your duties. Performance of your duty without worrying about the favorable or unfavorable outcome is the true sannyasa. No, there Krishna actually twists the whole definition of sannyasam to push Arjuna into the war. You should understand the 18th chapter in a very subtle way. Really speaking, sannyasa is not what Krishna says in 18th chapter. The Shastric definition of sannyasa is exactly opposite of what Krishna says in the 18th chapter. But Krishna uses a kind of a twisted logic to tell Arjuna that you are performing your duty with a karma yoga attitude is actually superior to sannyasa. And the 6th chapter also begins with a shloka. How does the 6th chapter begin? Yeah, hold on. I'll just refer to the 6th chapter. First shloka of the 6th chapter brings this point very clearly. Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriya. So a sannyasi is not someone who has given up the agni and the karma, but anashrita karma phalam. Without being obsessed with the result, if you perform your duty, you are a sannyasi. That is the teaching Krishna gives the 6th chapter. He already gives a hint. And in the 3rd chapter or somewhere he says, again 3rd chapter, I'll have to check. Yeah. Okay. 4th shloka, na karmanam anarambhat naishkarmyam purushoshnute na cha sanyasanadeva siddhim samadhigacchati. The 4th shloka, there also Krishna sort of condemns sannyasa and puts karma yoga above sannyasa. So all these shlokas are to tell Arjuna that, look, don't talk about sannyasa on the battlefield. You have come to the battlefield to fight. And here in the battlefield, fighting is your duty and not giving me lectures on the desirability of sannyasa. So that's the way Krishna tells Arjuna to shut his mouth. Yeah, but in a very polite way. Yeah. Now, continue with your question.
Yeah. So the question, if I, as a human, I'm immersed in my materialistic view and the materialistic world and all this stuff, so then what the usual question that comes to my mind is, what would motivate me to move from this materialistic world to a spiritual world? Right. So that's basically the difference, I assume, between a karmi and a karma yogi.
Correct. See, in the Mundakopanishad, there is a mantra which goes like this: Parikshya lokan karmachidan brahmano nirvedamayan nastyakrita kritena tad vijnanartham sa gurumevabhigachet samitpanihi srotriyam brahmanishtam. That's a complete mantra. The relevant part is, how did the mantra begin? Parikshya lokan. Parikshya lokan karmachitan brahmano nirvedamayate nasti akrita kritena. That's an important sentence. It means this person has gone through several janmas, maybe several thousand janmas, several millions of janmas. He has gone to all the lokas, because in the earlier, in our Vedic culture, performing karma was the motive for performing karma is to go to heaven. You perform a certain karma, you go to heaven, enjoy life there. So this person, this Vedic expert, has performed so many millions of karma over so many millions of janmas and has gone to heaven so many millions of times. But every time he goes to the heavens, Swarga, he only gets to spend a limited time and he has to come back to this world to perform karma again. So that repeated karma phalam journey has created a fatigue in him. The correct word is fatigue. So the individual has to feel the fatigue at some level and has to question the usefulness of all this material rat race. Unless the individual starts questioning the material rat race and ask himself, what am I doing all this for? What is the purpose of all this? That question, unless that comes, the person will be a materialist, will be a karmi. Okay. Only the day he starts questioning himself, okay, I am running around so much, I'm working 18 hours a day, I'm working 24 by 7 by 365 or whatever, and I'm looking for this kind of a achievement, but it's not giving me happiness. So what am I doing this for? So that question mark, unless it comes, the individual will continue to be a karmi. Yeah, 1 minute. I will go to Rahul. He's raised his hand. Rahul ji.
Sure.
Rahul ji, please unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So can a karmi ever be able to claim, or will a person be ever be able to know that he has now become a karmi yogi, or will that realization lead to ego?
No. See, the whole definition of karmi and karma yogi is for every one of us to apply that definition to ourselves. This is not to use this as some kind of a template to judge a third person, because you can never know whether a third person is a karmi or a karma yogi. Okay, you can know what is your attitude when you perform any duty. See, you may be a karma yogi in some set of limited set of activities, you may be a karmi in some other field. It is not necessary that a karmi will be a karmi in everything that he does, or a karma yogi will be a karma yogi in everything he does. It's also a question of personality. No, we all have our, when I say we all, I mean our mind and intellect has so many dimensions. So it is possible that you may be a karma yogi in some specific area. So I'll give you a very simple example. Yeah. So let's say you are a badminton champion, or you're a tennis champion, some sports. Okay. So when you go out and play in your professional circuit, you will want to win. You will want to win, very dearly, and you will hate to lose. So on the professional circuit, you are a karmi. Okay, on the professional circuit, you are a karmi. But let's say you are sitting at home and you are playing with your children, and you are playing caroms or whatever game, and you end up losing that game. At that point, you will be a karma yogi because you don't mind losing. Yeah. So in the professional circuit, a loss will really hurt you deeply. Maybe it won't hurt you. I don't know. Maybe you may say, okay, the opponent was really good and I lost to a very qualified player or whatever. But there will be some disappointment when you lose in a professional circuit. But at home, when you lose to your own children in a game of cards or in a game of carom, that loss won't hurt you because there you are a karma yogi. It's the outcome is not what you are looking for. It's a fun that you have with your children that you work for. You get the contrast?
See, thank you very much. Dhanyavad.
Great, thank you. So, Sridhar sir, do you have any remnants of your questions? You are muted.
Sorry, no. So that was the key question that was remaining in my mind, whether this transition is something that we can willfully make it happen, or is it something that happens naturally out of the experiences we have across lifetime, so to say, which means it is something that has to happen on its own versus we making this happen through the knowledge or intention or some kind of a determination. So this was my question basically.
Sir, nothing happens automatically. Let us first understand that. Okay, nothing happens automatically. So a karmi becoming a karma yogi is not something that is guaranteed in any form. A karmi can continue to be a karmi for all his janmas for the next so many cycles of creation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So whether a karmi becomes a karma yogi or even wants to become a karma yogi is entirely dependent on the karmi's attitude towards his action and results. Okay. If he doesn't have a desire, that is the difference between a sattvika person and a rajasic or tamasic person. And a tamasic person will not even try to do anything. So we are not talking about a tamasic person. A tamasic person will like to sleep and be on his couch. The sattvic person is the one who will start thinking about what am I doing? Is it worth it? And is there something different that I can do? So all those questions will come to a sattvic person. A rajasic person is always full of energy. So the rajasic person will continue to be a karmi as long as the rajasic energy is there in him. And so the real question is, does a rajasic person become a sattvic over several janmas? Maybe. It all depends on the person's expectations. So if this rajasic person enjoys being a rajasic person, then the chances of him becoming a sattvic person and start questioning the karma yoga contrast is very slim. Okay. So we cannot give a generic answer. It is entirely up to the individual to decide whether he is happy doing whatever he is doing. See, what we say is, if you are happy with whatever you are doing in life, and if you are very happy, Vedanta is not for you. You can safely keep away from Vedanta because you are happy with life. Vedanta is meant for people who are not so happy with life and they want to understand why they are unhappy. You get it?
Yes, that touches upon a very key aspect.
Okay. So 1 minute. We will go to Chandrasekhar. He's raised his hand again. I'll come back to you, Sridhar.
Yes, sir.
Sridhar, sir. Sorry, Chandrasekhar.
Sorry, I think this is a different topic on this because you told about the Purushottama went multiple times to heaven and he come back. So my question is like, I know like people used to say that after doing so many good karmas, you got human being life, so you can think differently and with memory, and you can go to the next level in your life. I mean, for the betterment of your life. So
He got dropped. I think he'll join back. Let's give him a minute. I don't know why he dropped off. Connection problem, maybe. Yeah. While we wait for him, can you complete your question, Sridhar?
Yeah, yes, like I said, the yeah, so what you basically said is one who is not thirsty cannot be forced to drink water.
Exactly. Yeah. So wait, I think you can formulate your question a little more solidly. I'll continue with Chandrasekhar. He has joined. Yeah, please.
Yes.
sorry, somehow it disconnected. I'm sorry. My question is like, when you are growing in a good moment, when multiple times he went to the heaven, then as we also know that our good karmas also go forward and bad karmas also forward. My question is like, when Purushottama went, why he went forward and he was coming back when he knows that he is doing the good things and he can do progress in his life, right? Why he is coming back? I know
See,
it might be silly, but yet,
no.
just for
That is,
curiosity.
for that, you have to understand the whole karma theory. See, when you perform a karma and you get the result, the karma is finite and the result is finite. So what is finite? Finite means it is limited in time and space. Okay. So any karma that you do, even the longest puja that you do, maybe for 4 hours or 5 hours. Okay. Or in those days, people would do a homam or yagam for 10 days and 20 days continuously and all that. But that's still finite. That's still limited. So a limited action will give you limited result. That is the first principle. A limited action will give you limited result. So there are some pujas which may take you to heaven for a few days. There are some other karmas which may take you to the Swargam for a few months. There are some other karmas which may take you to Swargam or some other lokam for a few years. And then there may be some other karmas which may take you to the highest lokam called Brahma Lokam for maybe a few yugas. I'm increasing the scale of time also. The
Yeah,
karma's result can be for a few weeks or a few months or a few years or a few janmas or a few yugas. Even
yeah.
if it is for a few yugas, the karma phalam will come to an end, and then your next janma comes. And when the next janma comes, there is no guarantee that you will come back to the human plane. You may be born as an animal, you may be born as a plant, you may be born as anything else. It all depends on what the next set of karma has in store for you.
Okay. Mix of everything like goods and bads, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I understood that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Got it.
one particular janma begins with a small set of your total karma. there is a total karma which is available to you, which you have to exhaust over millions and millions of janmas. And from that big bundle, one very small piece is given to you in one particular janma, and you enjoy that and exhaust it in that janma with a particular body and with a particular world and environment and all that. Once that is over, the next body in the next world will come. And it's an unending cycle until you choose to come to the Jnana Margam, acquire Atma Jnanam, and then completely get out of this cycle. That is the whole journey.
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
Okay. So now we are 4 minutes past 9. I think we should stop here. And Sridhar sir, I would request you to think about your question and write it down on, in a very crystal clear way. And let's discuss it next week once you are ready with your well formulated question. Is that okay?
Yes, I simply hope my mind is clear enough to come to that well formulated question, but I'll give it a try for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And my suggestion is not only to Sridhar sir, but also to all other people. We have now, this is the 9th or 10th week, if I'm right, or maybe 11th week. So whatever we discussed in the first 5-6 weeks, which is supposed to be the foundation, it's probably not so very active in your memory. It may be worthwhile to go back to the recordings and listen to the fundamental teachings, so that you are able to then relate the discussions happening here and the teachings and make a connection. And once you make that connection, it will probably give rise to some more questions. So this is one way to refresh your knowledge and polish your knowledge. Okay. So with that request, I will now chant the closing prayers. Is that okay, ma'am? Asking the moderator.
Yes, sir. All good.
Okay. So we'll chant the closing prayers, and hopefully next week more participants will come up with more questions, which will keep the discussion alive. So that's a sincere expectation. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate Sarvesham Swastir Sarvesham Shantir Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarvepi Sukhinas Santu Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you. We'll meet next Tuesday. Namaste.